In the first part of the anger series, we talked about what was healthy anger and what unhealthy anger looked like. Understanding the origins of unhealthy anger is crucial to understanding how you developed it in the first place. Past trauma or abuse involves harmful or distressing experiences that cause significant emotional, psychological, or physical harm. When you have unresolved trauma or negative past experiences and you haven't worked on yourself to heal this yet, it makes you sensitive to certain triggers, which can lead to unhealthy anger or at least a warped perception of the actual situation. So, past traumas and abuse could be physical abuse, that's experiencing bodily harm or violence from another person. Emotional abuse, that's being subjected to constant criticism, belittling, or manipulation. Sexual abuse or exploitation. Neglect, that's failing to receive adequate care or attention, and that could be in adulthood or childhood. Bullying, repeated aggressive behavior or verbal abuse intended to hurt or dominate another person. Witnessing violence, if you see a horrible crime or violence hurting other people or person, this can be deeply traumatic. Abandonment, sudden or unexpected withdrawal from the people that used to be your support system, whether that be your parents, your relationship, or your friends. Natural disasters that wipe out a whole town, say from a hurricane, or a landslide, or a flood, or a fire. A significant loss of your child, of your parent, of your loved one. Unhealthy anger can stem from unmet needs. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. A need for respect, love, safety, validation. If these needs are constantly unmet or ignored, frustration then builds up, leading to that unhealthy anger. Let's look at those unmet needs that could have happened in childhood. Invalidated or neglected feelings. If a child grows up where their feelings are constantly ignored or neglected or invalidated, they have a really hard time expressing themselves in adult life when it comes to negative emotions, because they've learned that expressing these emotions either led to a negative consequence or the outcome was pointless. Moving frequently. Children who frequently move, whether it's with the same parents or parent or to different homes with other caregivers, they may struggle to know how to develop a friendship and how to connect with people. And this leads to great frustration and insecurity. Absence of parents. If your parents are away for long periods of time and you're left on your own devices, when things come up at school or at home, they struggle because they have inadequate support and they don't have a role model to show them how to use them properly. If your child's emotional needs are unmet, they feel misunderstood and isolated. And that will simmer into unhealthy anger as they get older. Unstable home environment. There's constant conflicts going on. There's unpredictability. And it leads to chronic stress and unhealthy anger because they feel unsafe. If they had inadequate basic needs met, if they constantly were worried about food or shelter or their safety, it creates a chronic sense of uncertainty and fear, contributing to stress and anger. Learned behaviors. If you grow up in an angry atmosphere, you most likely will develop habitual angry reactions because that's what you saw. Social belonging. Struggling with bullying or exclusion in schools can leave the child feeling undervalued, unworthy, causing anger. No support system. If you don't have family, spouse, friends as a support system that you trust for a long period of time, this can fuel feelings of anger because it's a defense mechanism against those negative emotions that you feel coming on. Relationship dynamics. If you don't have emotional validation from your partner and he or she checks out when you're talking about something and doesn't acknowledge what you're saying or your feelings and can't reciprocate it, it leaves a partner feeling frustrated, causing resentment long term, and it's particularly impactful in long-term relationships or friendships. Stress and overwhelm. Without emotional support, managing stress is more challenging, and pent-up stress that we put and get in our bodies because we have invented it builds and becomes unhealthy anger. Validation and encouragement are very, very important in anyone's life. So if someone doesn't receive praise for their efforts, or they're always being criticized by parents, girlfriend, boyfriend, or friends, or even teachers, very important to remember that, it builds frustration and anger. So girls, even if your boyfriend makes an effort to do the dishes or sweep the floor, there is nothing wrong with praising them. Don't go back into the, well, I don't get praised. You teach by example. You say, oh my God, thank you so much. You know what? They'll want to do it again. But if you only look at what they're doing wrong and you don't praise them for doing good, think of it like you're not their parent, no. But we still need to praise each other. It's just human nature to feel good about doing something and being recognized for it. So don't be one of those girls that don't praise their boyfriend for doing something that you don't have to do, or recognizing that they're helping you. There's workplace pressure, deadlines, heavy workloads, demanding supervisors. It can lead to quick snapping at colleagues or loss of temper. relationship conflicts, ongoing issues that are never resolved, or one of the spouses doesn't get an adequate answer. You don't make a plan to solve it. It just continues over and over and over and over again, the same issue. That's going to lead to resentment and anger, and somebody's going to leave. Financial stress. If you constantly have financial struggles and you're not making enough money, just something as simple as an unexpected expense that comes up can lead to unhealthy anger. Parental challenges. Maybe you have overwhelmed parents. They were always overwhelmed. This leads to childhood behaviors. If the parent had a disproportionate anger problem towards something that their child did, you usually grow up and don't understand this either, which can lead to unhealthy anger. Traffic or commuting issues. You speed up because you're angry, someone cut you off, you yell and scream. You're constantly stressed because it's busy on the road and you just want to get home. You're running late and you need to get somewhere. These are actually minor. And if you leave a bit early, this wouldn't happen. And you don't need to be in a hurry to get somewhere. Just go with the flow. That's unhealthy. Technological issues. This frustrates me for sure. Frequent tech problems. Something goes wrong with your computer. You put things together on your YouTube channel or your website and something goes wrong and it doesn't connect, or you get a 404 error. This is things that have recently happened to me, or even someone hacked you. It's extremely frustrating. And for those that don't have proper coping skills, it can lead to unhealthy anger, which doesn't help when you're trying to do the task at hand and fix it. It just makes the problem worse. And then everybody around you gets frustrated and angry, and it just blows the situation up and gets out of hand. If you have chronic pain or ongoing medical issues, some may have been caused by mental stress, but either or, this can lead to unhealthy anger outbursts. Self-criticism, comparison to other people. You can constantly criticize yourself. Or you can look online and feel resentful or jealous, or even feel bitterness towards somebody else's success, somebody else laughing, somebody else holding hands. Now that I know about. When I was at my bottom of loneliness, I was very bitter. I was very jealous. I was wondering the why me, why couldn't I find love? I get that. I myself didn't react in anger, but it was bottled up frustration inside, and it could have been. Fear of failure, lack of education, unworthiness causes fear of failure. What are other people going to think? And rejection sensitivity. When you feel unworthy or unwanted, you could never get a boyfriend, you could never fit in with friends, you felt like someone really wanted to be around you. You might have been picked last in gym class like I was for teams. You put your hand up in school and the teacher never picked you. We are more sensitive to rejection and criticism. And this provokes a defense anger. Displacement of anger. If you don't address the root problems of your anger, it can get displaced and you can attack other people. You attack other people like your family and friends because they are safer targets than your co-workers or the actual person you're having a problem with. Bottled up emotions. Suppressed feelings of inadequacy can accumulate negative emotions, and that's often released as unhealthy anger. Genetics can play a part in anger. Brain chemistry certainly can. Sometimes there's an imbalance of the neurotransmitters, such as serotonin and dopamine, which affects mood and impulse control. Those you would have to figure out from a doctor. Hormones could be off. Elevated levels of hormones like testosterone or cortisol are known to increase aggression and stress responses. Neurological disorders, conditions like ADHD, epilepsy, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, complex PTSD, depression, anxiety, etc. Bipolar, these can be responsible for controlling anger. Substance abuse, usually we get that because we've already has the unhealthy anger and pain, but they make it worse because the alcohol and the drug abuse just impairs our judgment, lowers our inhibition, which can increase our anger and the outbursts. Definitely we have poor coping mechanisms in place unless you were lucky enough to get counseling or therapy later. And these manifest as avoidance. So you avoid people or situations. Substance abuse, that's a poor coping skill. Ruminating, always thinking about the negative event and talking about it. Always thinking about your past wrongs or what a terrible person you are or what you could have done better. And this is chronic. Blaming others is a huge thing. Unhealthy anger people like to blame others. It's always somebody else's fault. This is easier than looking at yourself. This can escalate anger when problems are put onto other people wrongly. Passive-aggressive behavior. Indirect expression of what you need or of anger creates unresolved conflicts. Venting. Yelling or throwing things around the room, even if it's not directed at someone, might provide temporary relief, but it exasperates the problem and you will lose your loved one. Unless they don't care about themselves, they'll only stay when you've weakened them, when you've taken away their spirit. Some stay because they hope that you will change because there's good in you every other way. But if you aren't showing an effort to change your unhealthy anger on your own, and it's always them offering you ways that you can fix it, but nothing changes, and it's sorry, doesn't work. Physical aggression, resorting to harmful physical actions, which can lead to serious consequences. Even if you're not hitting someone, this is not good. Negative self-talk, constantly saying how bad of a person you are, or you need to change. I don't know why I'm like this. I'm a terrible person. And you keep validating yourself over and over again, like, I don't know why I'm like this. That's just negative self-talk. That's not helping you at all. It lowers your esteem even further. And it actually increases your frustration and your anger, and then you just escalate it. So now you have negative feelings just piling on to each other, and none of them are dealt with. Internal conflict going on. We harshly self-criticize. We have shame and guilt, and we manifest these as anger. We have fear of rejection. And so sometimes it's easier just to be angry and push that person away. And then that validates how unworthy we are. Or sometimes we are so hard on ourselves because we're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And sometimes the anger is just an automatic defensiveness. I don't want to fight, so instead I will yell and immediately shut you down. If I feel that I'm being criticized or any negative feedback coming my way, it will result in my anger. Projection. People project their insecurities onto others, resulting in misplaced anger. Relationship dynamics. Dependency. Unfulfilled feelings in relationships can fuel anger. Instead of asking for what they need, they don't know how. They expect the spouse to know, and when it's not met, they just get angry. But no one can read each other's minds. Feelings of isolation, social isolation. So they aren't comfortable going out and having conversations. They battle with that negative self-talk. And they'll even try and talk themselves out of going somewhere. And all that negative self-talk then builds. And then this comes out as an outburst of unhealthy anger. They have a negative self-perception. And they can become lonely. They go off by themselves. Do projects by themselves. Go to the beach by themselves. Perhaps some of them camp by themselves. Not saying that being alone is unhealthy. Please distinguish what I'm saying. Loneliness is a perceived feelings that nobody gets you. You are unseen and you are unworthy. Being alone is a whole other thing. You can go camping alone. You can go to the beach alone. You can do a project alone. I'm talking about loneliness. If you are lonely, this increases your feelings of inadequacy, which can lead to increased internal anger. And then if you have a lack of emotional outlet, and you keep all your feelings inside, especially men, you know you do, without social connections to share your feelings and your emotions, they bottle up and then they turn into that unhealthy anger. Men need to learn to open up more. We've got into this role that the man is the breadwinner and he can't show any signs of this or that. And that's just not true. And it never used to be in our tribal societies. Yes, we did manly things and they had to do the rite of passage and they did all sorts of things. But they were also allowed to say their feelings. And I'm sure You know, I have this feeling, I can't say for sure, but I feel that when the women did their sacred thing, whether it be sacred prostitution or a sacred council, war council, all of those things, the man came in probably and was allowed to share their feelings. That's how I feel. And if it wasn't, that's how I feel today and how I would run my tribe. And did you know that chronic loneliness actually changes your brain chemistry, increases your stress hormones like cortisol, and it affects your mood and anger? And as I was saying, rumination, always thinking about the distressing situations, watching the news, scrolling through Facebook, seeing what other people are saying, and seeing bad news, and seeing something that you would never know if you didn't do all that stuff. It's so unhealthy to remain on social media. Just go there to post, go there to maybe see what your friends did, but don't stay on it every day. Choose a couple days a week to catch up, like you would normally do when we didn't have cell phones. We just call each other a couple times a week or once a week. Do that. The rest of the people are not your friends. They are acquaintances that you see once in a while. Learn the difference. Because all that other stuff just piles on feelings of rejection, feelings that nobody cares about your post, but somebody else's post gets all this reaction. Stop that. You matter. No matter who you are. You have something that nobody else in the world has to say. You have been living a life that nobody else has experienced. And you chose your parents, chose your lifestyle so you could learn something. Whether it be bad or good, it doesn't matter. Because it's not always going to be that way. And you came for a purpose. And you came to serve. And you just got to find out what that is. In conclusion, when reflecting on these factors contributing to unhealthy anger, you might see yourself in one or many of the scenarios that I talked about. But if you recognize where these feelings are coming from, feelings of unworthiness, poor coping skills, they all play a role in a powerful first step towards change. Understand that these factors are not a life sentence, but a starting point for healing, self-awareness, and growth. By acknowledging these influences, you empower yourself to seek better ways of managing your unhealthy anger. Now, whether you choose therapy or a life coach or a psychiatrist, or whether you go to self-help resources, or maybe you choose to just simply talk to a trusted friend, that's up to you. There are many paths to healing and finding peace. Now, disclaimer, I am only just sharing things that I went through that helped me. I just want you to remember that it's never too late to work on yourself, no matter how old you are. At the time of this video, I'm 61 years old, about to turn 62 soon. And I just healed within the last couple of years. And then for the last 2 years, I've been working hard on a program so that I can help you too. And I don't want anyone ever to suffer as long as I did. And I'm dedicating the rest of my life so I can help you. Thank you. Remember, you're worthy. Remember, you do have something to say. I love you. I care. People see you. You are not unheard. You are beautiful inside and out.